Hello Super Nerd Friends, it is Thursday, and that means it's my turn once again to take over the channel. Mwahaha. Sorry, take over just sounded evil. Anyway, I don't know what to talk about. I have not read any more of the book. I'm sorry. I have worked 25 hours in the last 3 days, and I'm only supposed to work 20 hours in a week. I mean 40 hours, not 20. And Monday was supposed to be my day off, which is when I was going to read, and then I got called into work. So yeah, I'm sorry. I promise I will catch up soon, as soon as possible, and that we can start discussing, because I feel really bad, because I was really dedicated to my book, but that was also when I didn't have a job. Besides that, I haven't had too much going on. My hair's kind of finally settled into a color. It looks a bit brighter in the camera and the lighting and everything right here than it does normally. But yeah, I might make it a little darker anyway. Like I like it, but I feel like I want some more red, so we'll see. It's still an ongoing changing process, and I might make it a bit darker. Yeah, besides that, I just decided I'm going to talk more about the Tour de France, because I don't know what else to talk about. So yeah, I've been watching the Tour de France, and it's been great. It's one of my favorite things, and I really want to talk about it, but nobody wants to talk to me about it because nobody else watches it, except for me and my dad, that I know. So yeah, I'll talk about that for a while. So there's a couple basic things, I guess, in the Tour de France. It's a race, bike race of 200 cyclists from all over the world who have to qualify in order to do it in individual time trials that happen like months prior to the race at least. But yeah, so they start out with individual time trials, which is just you running by yourself, seeing how fast you can finish the course, and that determines your initial position. So the guy right now who's in yellow, which is the jersey for being in the lead, Fabian Cancellara, he rode the fastest in his time trial, and so he won the yellow jersey on the first day, and it is now the 5th day, and he still has it, which is fairly common, because people who are going to make a move to get the yellow jersey and finish in first do not make that move until at least halfway through the race. But yeah, I kind of want to talk about the different goals of people. So that's the first day, and then the rest of the days, besides sometimes they have team time trials, and some days they have off, are a group of riders, the majority of them called the Peloton. I looked up why they're called that, but it didn't make much sense, so I don't know really why. But it's the largest group of riders, and they have the best, like, they're very fast because they take turns of who's in the lead cutting the draft, or cutting the wind to give them less drag. And so they are very quick to catch people who are in breakaways, which is usually the other group of people, who are people at the very beginning or near the beginning of the stage who try to get away from the peloton so that they can either gain time or that they can get sprinter points or mountain points more easily. But that's kind of the interesting thing about the tour, is it's not everyone's goal to win. Most people know that they will not win, which is kind of strange for a sporting event, going in specifically knowing that you are not going to get the overall victory. So a lot of them are not concerned at all with winning the race. They don't care. I mean, they would love to, I'm sure, but they know it's not going to happen. So they don't try, really. I said, like, there are teams, obviously, and the teams, as I said before, are only to support someone on your team who can win, which is kind of sad when you think about it, but it's also, I don't know, it's just kind of the way it is, and I guess I'm used to it. But some people, their goal is to get the green jersey, which is a sprinter's jersey, so all they care about is getting sprinter points, which is one reason to be in the breakaway, because you get to the sprinter, there are certain, like, spots in the race where it's like you race to this point to get sprinter points, and whoever is the first across it gets sprinter points. You also get quite a few sprinter points for being the first across the finish line for the stage. So that's usually what breakaways are for sprinter points, or for mountain points, which is getting to the top of a specific mountain first. And usually the the men who want to win the King of the Mountain jersey are in the breakaways on mountain stages. And on flat stages, it's usually people who want sprinter points, which makes sense. But, yeah, so, I mean, there are a lot of people who know that they're not going to win different things, and they have, like, a very specific goal in mind. So a lot of people just want to win the green jersey overall, or just want to win it once. A lot of people want to stay in the polka dot jersey, or the mountain King of the Mountain jersey, or they want to just win it once. There are a lot of people whose sole goal is to win a stage, which is to be the first across the line that day. And then there are they're called GC contenders, and they are the ones who could win the general title of Tour de France. So yeah, so you have people like Andy Schleck, who I talked about before. He's definitely a GC contender, not this year because he's out, but generally he is there to win. But then you have people like Mark Cavendish, who has been in the Tour as long as I can remember, but he never gets even close to winning, who's only there for the green jersey. He just wants sprinter points, and now he's trying to win a record of the most stages won overall in Tour de France's. So he's been in like 10, I think, something like that. He's like 28. So he's been in it for a while, like since he was a kid. And his goal is to win the most stages of anyone. So he's at like 21 right now, I think. And the overall, like the best someone's ever done was like 30 something. So he's getting close. He just passed Lance, which I thought was interesting. And it shows you that you know, you don't have to win the battles to win the war, I guess, to use a history term for it, because Lance often did not win stages, and he was not in yellow for very long a lot of the time, because being in yellow, so being the leader in the Tour overall in time, puts a big target on your back and makes it very difficult for your team, because if anyone is getting in front of you, that, like anyone in a breakaway that could beat you, they have to catch them, or else you're not going to be in yellow anymore. So it's a very stressful thing, and almost no one starts out in yellow and stays in yellow, or even wins. If you start out in yellow, it's almost like a curse, like you will not keep it. So at least you'll have yellow jerseys, like that's nice to frame and put in your house, which they do. But yeah, it's kind of a death sentence for your ability to win. So I guess just the strategy and everything I find really fascinating, and just, I don't know, it's just really interesting to watch and amazing to just to see how hard they have to work and how dangerous it really is. They were talking about somebody last year, oh, I don't remember his name, which makes me feel bad, but he was involved in a crash, and he broke his femur, which I was like, how do you break your femur? Because your femur is like one of the strongest bones in your body, and it's usually equated to steel from most people when they're talking about it. Like, that's how hard, dense, and difficult to break it is. And he did, and he was out. And I was like, of course he was out. He broke his femur. How can you ride a bike? How can you walk? How horrible. But, you know, they are laying a lot on the line to do this, and often get injured and cannot continue, which is very sad. But I think that aspect of it makes it all the more impressive, that they have to come back from such injuries and they can do it with finesse, or they will be back next year despite having hurt themselves so much. And one thing my dad was talking about to me today was that it kind of irritates him that they don't really measure you by half seconds, I guess, in time. So if you all finish within the same second, They just count all your times as 0, like that you're equal, basically. So someone will win the stage, but they won't gain any time on the other people in the peloton, which almost always catches breakaways, and they almost always finish together. If you have a successful breakaway, bravo, because it's very difficult. Like today, there's a breakaway, but the guys lost it 2 kilometers from the finish line, which is so close. I was like, that has to be terrible, because they've been out, just the 3 of them, all day, and you have to work about 100 times harder than the peloton does, because they can rotate their people all day from the front to the back and everything, so that it's not difficult for them to, keep down the drag and to go the speed that they want to. But when you have 3 people, it's really hard to do that and try to maintain a lead, and they did very, very well, and then lost it, which is terrible. So, yeah. I don't know what else I have to say about that, but my dad was talking about how it's irritating that they don't do it by, like, the second or millisecond or whatever, because then we'd have a real race to the finish. And I said I think that's part of it being a French game, that they don't want you to win by a minimal amount. They want you to have to try. They don't want you to creep up and then barely pass someone who worked so hard to get that lead. They want you to have blood, sweat, and tears trying to get ahead of them and to accomplish it, because that is the mark of a victor, I guess, to them. And I think to me too, I feel like I want that person to have to really, really try, instead of just to kind of sneak in at the end a lot. So yeah, that's the Tour de France that that's as much as I'm going to talk about, I guess. I don't have much else to talk about. Haley, I hope you hear back soon from the library. I'm sure that you're getting a little bit of cabin fever, and I completely understand that. Becky, I'm glad that you finished your paper, and I hope that you are going to, that your back feels better, not so itchy from your mosquito bites, and that you are going to have a great time trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, and that you will have a decent time learning how to drive. It's not that bad. It's not as scary as it seems. I was very scared when I first started learning, but it'll get better. And yeah, that's it. Love you guys. Bye.